This is Joanna, and in life, everything was going for her. She had a very nice boyfriend, super supportive best friends, named Ellie, twins, Zoe, and of course, Belle. She had a cute, cuddly hamster named Gerald, and of course, she was mentally sound. Summer had just begun, and she had a ton of fun plans. Her hamster's birthday was coming up, and he was turning 4. And she was going on a very exciting trip with her boyfriend. One bright and shining morning, Jo went out to the pet store to buy her favorite hamster his birthday present. As she was looking around the store to buy Gerald his favorite treats, she was shocked when she realized that they were all sold out. Not really knowing what to do and not really having a choice, she settled for the generic brand. Excited when Jo got home, she was ready to sprint upstairs to give Gerald his present. On her sprint up the stairs, she tripped, of course going up. And on her way down, she felt a sharp pain and heard a big crack. However, that did not stop Jo from running up the stairs to celebrate her hamster's glorious milestone. As Jo approached Gerald's cage with his present in hand, she reached in to give her little fluffy friend his birthday present. As Gerald ate his treat, Jo watched as the life in Gerald's eyes drained as he choked on the cheap biscuit that Jo had just gave him. She began to weep and mourn over her lost companion as she glanced down at her arm and saw that it was indeed broken. A few days later, as her arm was healing in a cast, yet her heart still broken, her boyfriend of 6 months paid her a visit before their trip. She was elated to see him after those rough couple of days because she hadn't been able to see her therapist due to her broken arm, and indeed, she needed someone to talk to. However, Zach intervened, and Jo was devastated. Her boyfriend before her very eyes confessed to cheating on her, and her expression fell, and alone that night in her room, she wept. The next day, Jo woke up with a sudden cold sweat. She felt sick to her stomach, and when she took her temperature, she had 102-degree fever. Jo sadly became bedridden and couldn't do or go anywhere, so she had a couple of her friends come over to comfort her. Jo's friends decided to get together and make her some get-well-soon soup. They served her the soup, and as Jo reached for it, her big bulky cast knocked over the soup, and it spilled. And of course, out of all places, the soup landed on her face, leaving her face covered in burns. Ellie and Zoe helped their friend clean up. But her other friend, Belle, went on and said, "Maybe this is karma getting back at you or something." Jo shook her head in denial. But Zoe chimed in and said, "Well, I read your horoscope earlier, and maybe you should read what it said." "It's all true," she exclaimed. And in that moment, she filled with rage and felt very tempted to destroy everything in her house. Ellie rolled her eyes and shook her head. I never really understood how you felt." "Of course you wouldn't," Jo replied. "None of you know how this feels." And in that moment, Jo recalled some of the coping mechanisms her therapist had recommended for her, took a deep breath, and calmed down. And in this moment, Eli chimed in and told her, "Your therapist isn't really helping you. You should probably get a new one since he really isn't making progress." Jo grew impatient, but was interrupted by a sudden phone call from her therapist. He reminded her that her appointment was at 2:30 and it was already 2:15. Their conversation was short, and she dismissed her friends so she could leave. 2:30 strolled around, and Jo met with her therapist, and she went on to discuss her past week. After hearing what Jo had to say, her therapist was proud of her. Jo thought she did poorly. Her therapist commended her patience. After their appointment, Jo felt refreshed and ready to take life head on once more. A few weeks later, Jo's cast was taken off. Her heart was healed. She got a new fluffy friend. She forgave her friends. And she eventually met the love of her life. The end.